Hi, good evening, everyone. Our topic that we were given is food and nutrition. And we thought about it from the standpoint that you want it to be life sustaining, fulfilling, nutritious, comforting, and fun because food really is what brings families together, right? And it needs to be something that is sustainable, but also that can be a comfort if there is a time of crisis. The agenda tonight that we're going to talk about are the types of food storage, a starter's guide, assessing what you have or what you need to still acquire, also food safety and storage and nutrition, and then final tips and takeaways.
So there's a lot of different types of food storage that we need to think about. One of the things that could be necessary in an emergency situation is just to get out of the situation that you're in. So it's nice to have some kind of a 72-hour, this is a 5-day kit that you can take with you. This actually has water in it. It has filtration stuff for water because water is one of the most important things. I know we're not talking about that, but you can survive for about 3 weeks without food, but you can't without water. So, but food is a comfort thing. You want to be comfortable. So there is food in here. There's actually some shelter stuff, emergency stuff. So these are great kits to have if you're going to bug out. You can get these at Costco. You can get them online. So that's one great thing is to think about is what am I going to do if I have to get out really quick? Another great source of stuff to have that's actually really good is these little prepackaged fills. Most people say dehydrated food. I could go without it. Not very good. But I found this company is actually tastes really well. It has about 3 to 4 times the protein that you'll find in other dehydrated meals. And it's very lightweight. You can easily throw these in a backpack if you want to make your own kind of backpack survival guide. We use these on backpacking trips all the time. They're great tasting. There's a lot of different ones. There's a lot of different companies out there. I'm not here to recommend one company over another, but this is one that I found that tastes really good. They use really quality ingredients, and they have a lot of protein in them, so very nutritious. So bugging out, short-term shelter in place. So if something happens where we just sheltering in place in our home, what kind of things could we access for that? Well, we're not going to be going to our long-term food storage. We're going to need something that we should have, I think, at least 3 months of food storage in our pantries that we're going to use every day. I brought an example of canned meats that we had here that actually taste good versus dehydrated meats that may not taste quite as good in the long-term storage. So it's things that you're going to use and be comfortable with on a day-to-day basis. I would include in that short-term food supply things that are like treats, rewards. People talk about, hey, make sure you have chocolate chips in there or other things that are, you're not just eating blah, canned goods every day. So try to prepare some kind of a pantry situation where you could last 1 to 3 months, depending on your situation or what you want. And then we have situations where we may have to do a long-term food situation. Hopefully, we don't have to come to that, but I call that my insurance policy. And long-term food storage can sometimes be daunting because it seems overwhelming. Like, where do I start? There's so much. It seems overwhelming. But if you just start with small and simple things, and we'll kind of go through that, you can just crack away at it over time. And then we have things that I think are fun. We can plant gardens. I've started my own little garden in my backyard. I like raspberries. That's one of the things in my garden. Raspberries. I like to have some fresh fruits and vegetables. You can get chickens. Chickens are a great source of having food on a constant basis where you have fresh eggs. You can have it around, or you can do it just during the summer months when they're naturally hatching. If you use light in your cages, you can get food year-round through chickens. And then fruit trees is another great source. You plant fruit trees at our house as a thought of, hey, we might need some food storage or food or fresh vegetables and fruits all year long. So you can then take those kind of items and store them. There's also something I want to mention with seeds. These are heirloom seeds. So these are seeds that will actually replicate themselves, produce seeds so that you can grow again. So they're not genetically modified seeds. These are great to have so that you can continue to plant a garden over time. And what's that? Oh, one other thing about food that's often missed is making sure you have vitamins, minerals, and medicines stored. Very important. Sometimes, so having a good source of multivitamin or something so you're getting the right nutrients that you need. One of the things we want to talk about in our starter guide is just that you buy things that you're actually going to eat. So if you're not going to eat it ever, it's kind of a waste of money to buy it. That's my opinion. So I like to buy things that I like. If you don't like tuna and you want tuna and you're never going to eat it, it's probably a waste of money. Maybe you eat it if you're super hungry, but buy chicken instead or something that you're actually going to eat. And make sure you're rotating. On those short-term items, it's very important to rotate things. Because things like chicken or peanut butter, those things only last a short time. These things will be good for a year to 2 years. Peanut butter lasts a year to 2 years. Whereas wheat that we have up here will last you 30 plus years. So it's important when you're buying stuff for your short-term needs that you're rotating it, you're being conscious of how long it will last. I wouldn't buy, so much vegetable oil because vegetable oil will actually only last a year and a half, 2 years, and it'll go rancid. But olive oil will last much longer. So if you're going to store oil, it's probably better to store olive oil in a long-term basis than using vegetable oil, which will go rancid.
John, what's the best way to find out how long foods last?
I have some sheets up here that will tell you. This is a great sheet from UIU that gives you a basic of about 40 different items of how long different things last. Wheats, rices, oats, powdered milks will last about 20 years, but those others will last 30 plus years. Apple slices, potato flakes, carrots, onions, salt, sugar, baking soda, those things will all last like 20 to 30 years. But short-term items like oils, I said, will go quickly. Even dried eggs only last about 3 plus years. Yeast is about 5 years. So it's important that you understand what you have and how long it will last so you can plan appropriately in your rotation and using of those items.
John, another good oil is coconut oil.
Coconut oil, yeah.
It's for long term.
I'm using olive oil right now in my kitchen that I dated at 2011, and it's just fine.
Yes, olive oil. I think olive oil, but
Yeah.
I'm not getting polyester. So, assessment is, where are you at and where do you want to be in your storage? And everyone's situations can be totally different, I understand that. But everyone has food in their cupboards, but I'm amazed at talking to people as I was prepared for this, how many people are living week to week or 2 weeks. They're like, I only have maybe a week or 2 weeks in my pantry and I don't have anything else. And so, just getting an extra 2 weeks, I would double the amount of time that they have. So I started talking to them like, well, if something happened where you couldn't get to the grocery store per week, what are you going to do? So at least having a short-term supply, I think, is the number one thing because that's stuff that you eat and use every day. And then as you work towards longer-term supplies. So I like to look at calculator because it kind of opens your eyes. I put the calculator on this handout that I have that I like the best because you can adjust it for not only the number of people that you have, the number of kids that you have, but you can also say, I want a 1 month supply, or I want a 3 month supply, or I want a 6 month supply, and it will change all the numbers for you. So this is just going to give you an idea of, might be small to see, but how much it would take to feed 6 adults for 1 year in all these different areas. You're talking about 1,800 pounds of grains. That might seem overwhelming. So maybe you start, well, maybe I could start out with 300 pounds of grains. These are different types of grains.
John, is that 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, or 3?
This is 3 meals a day.
Okay.
For 6 people for 1 year. I mean, they consider an adult as a 7-year-old and above. So a child would be 6 and under. So milk and dairy, 450 pounds of the milk and dairy, over 1,000 pounds of fruits, sugars, 360 pounds, 360 pounds of beans and legumes, vegetables, over 1,000 pounds, 150 pounds of fats and oils, cookies, essentials, and so on. So you look at that and you're like, holy cow, that is a lot of stuff. What am I going to do? But just maybe you just start with, hey, I want to get a 1 month supply first, and then I can just keep going from that. And helps you to sleep better at night. Good insurance policy. Okay, I'm going to turn some time back to Amy. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say about long-term food storage real quick. When you store your things, especially buckets, cans, don't put them directly on concrete. Put wood underneath, because the concrete can actually leach into your plastic buckets and cause the food inside to not taste as well and not have the right nutrition. It's also best to store them in a cold, dry place. You can store them in your garage. It's not going to last as long as if you store them in a cool, dry place.
Okay, so yeah, John just touched on that with storing long-term food in a cool, dry place. You want to go through your older food first, and I think that's really referring to, your canned goods and your oils and things like that. This is stuff that's more, like he has mentioned, is more for an insurance policy. If you're really needing to go through it, there's lots of different approaches. There may be some people that prefer to rotate through this, but that's something that we chose to just keep it as our insurance policy. Again, knowing how long each type of food will store, and we have a handout on that. You've got the different types of storage. You've got canning, freezing, drying and dehydrating, and cold storage. You also want to store the food in appropriate containers and get oxygen absorbers for things like this, for your Mylar bags. Years ago, we did a bunch of oats in here with oxygen absorbers, and we actually did rotate through that with our kids. So one thing we haven't talked about too much is nutrition. I feel like most people understand and know what it looks to have a nutritious plate in front of you. You want your diet to be varied. You want to make sure you plan for an appropriate amount of protein per day. One of the recommendations that we found was that daily survival nutrition goals for protein is minimum of 50 grams of protein per day for an adult based on a 150-pound person to prevent muscle loss. So that's key, and that's why John really likes these particular dehydrated meals, because some of the other dehydrated meals have way less protein content. They might cost a little bit less money, but to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet, it's critical to pay attention to that. You want to make sure that you have the things that you will eat and that your family will eat. And every family is going to be different. So there really is no one size fits all for everybody, but that's why, as Bishop said, this is revelatory preparedness. We need to look at what our family's needs are and pay attention to each of your individual needs on what you like, what you need based on your own health needs. And then, of course, adding, like we talked about, having some fun treats in there, be able to make cookies with your families, or even just like hard candies that will store for a while longer. Final tips and takeaways is just having a readiness in your planning. You need to assess what you have or what you need. So review what your current readiness is, and then create a plan. for us, gosh, this bucket is from 2007. And I remember having lots of sleepless nights with all these little kids around and just thinking, what would I do if I couldn't feed my family? And so it really created peace of mind to start looking at this, and we were able to get the basic needs covered in our deep storage for up to a year. And that just increased readiness. So we have that, but we realized that there are holes in our own food storage. We have dehydrated items, but we don't have a great buildup and supply for the 1 to 3 up to 6 months of canned goods and things that we eat every day. Part of that is we just moved. And so some things got thrown away because they were old, and we need to build that supply back up again. And one great tip is when you're at the grocery store, just say you're having something that requires corn or beans that go into a soup or something, then buy double of what you normally would and just set those others aside for storage. So that's part of the implementation process, is just following and coming up with a plan that works for you and your family, and working on it together so that you really are prepared. And then lastly, just monitoring and evaluating what you need to do, reviewing it, updating it, and paying attention to it. That's it.
So we have